Welcome to the Livin'Sky podcast, a show about raising connected, resilient kids in a world that often forgets what they need most. I'm Livin'Sky, a pediatric speech-language pathologist, holistic feeding specialist, and a mom, here to help you understand your child's body, behavior, and biology in a whole new way. Each episode brings you simple, practical tools to support healthy eating, development, and family connection without the overwhelm. Thanks for listening. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Paul Voss is a father of 8 and the author of Autism Sucks, Finding Hope in the Chaos. His world shifted 3.5 years ago when his youngest child was diagnosed with autism, sending his family into a season of exhaustion, sleepless nights, and searching for answers. Instead of pretending the journey was easy, Paul chose radical honesty. Through trial, research, and relentless advocacy for his child, he and his wife began making practical changes that slowly transformed their household. What started as survival mode eventually became a new way of parenting that supported not only their autistic child, but their entire family, including an older child with ADHD. Paul now speaks openly about the realities parents face after a diagnosis, navigating the medical system, advocating for your child, managing exhaustion, and learning to parent with intention when life doesn't go according to plan. His message is simple but powerful. Autism is incredibly hard, but families can still find hope, growth, and unexpected strength along the way. Welcome to the Livin'Sky podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm super excited for this conversation. So, can you kind of take us back to the beginning? What was the moment when you first realized something might be different with your youngest child?
Yeah, it was we had COVID hit our house in January of 2022. My wife and I, it hit us hard. It hit me really hard. All of the other 7 kids, they were sick for like 24 hours and then they were fine. Ironically, me and my wife were vaccinated. They were not, so
Hmm.
kind of funny. But my youngest, we just started seeing like this sleep decline, and it wasn't even like a decline. It was like she got a boost of adrenaline at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Would not want to go to sleep. If we could get her to go to sleep, it would be maybe 2 hours, and then she would wake up again, want to go downstairs. She would want to watch TV, all hours of the night. So that was kind of the first thing. Also, she wouldn't let me put her to bed anymore or read to her at night. She would push the book away, and that just wasn't who she was. Like we would read, and there was her favorite book. There was a page I would read funny, and she would laugh, and like it just kind of went out the window. And I think having 7 other kids, though, we kind of learn kids adjust over time, and sometimes it's just short term, and kids kind of catch up to where they need to be. But over the next few months, we started to see some other things. I remember one time I was at a soccer game and she ran up to another woman, like thinking it was her mom, which none of our other kids ever did. An end of year school party I brought her into, and I woke her up from a nap and she just looked at me like she had no idea who I was, and actually went to another mom when she was upset and like didn't want anything to do with me. And it was like an awful feeling. So we started speech therapy. Connecticut has a program called Birth to Three. And the very first time the person came out, she mentioned, had you got her tested for autism? And I mean, there were other signs. It was kind of funny how things played out. She loved the Muppet Babies cartoon. And there was a scene where Miss Piggy would spin and she would do it. I had no idea that spinning was like a sign of autism. And at first I'm like, oh, it's so funny. She's spinning like her favorite character.
Mm.
Way later learned that like, no, that wasn't her impersonating character. That was a sign of autism. So it was really that summer of 2022. I think when the therapist mentioned it to us, um, I knew right away that she was going to be positive for autism just because I started looking at the symptoms and I'm like, there's no way this isn't her. My wife was optimistic it wouldn't be autism. I think she didn't want it to be. I kind of wanted it to be autism, but only so we would know what it was and we could start addressing it.
Mhm.
But I had no idea what autism really was then. So I had no clue how complex it was. I just thought we'll get the diagnosis and then fix it. And that's not how it works at all.
So, when you first kind of heard the word autism, I know you have mentioned you wanted that to be it, but what was kind of going through your mind as a dad? Like, what did you think treatment was going to look like, or how was that going to change your life?
Yeah, and I kept reading about non-speaking nonverbal, and she made sounds, and I just in my head I couldn't connect that,
Mhm,
she's going to talk, right? Like she's non-speaking nonverbal, but she makes sounds. So I had no idea the complexity there.
mhm.
I'll never forget though one time we were in the backyard, just me and her on the trampoline, and I just remember thinking like I might never hear her say I love you, and it crushed me. Like I remember crying
Oh,
there, like yeah, I try not to feel sorry for myself too much, but that was a time that I'll never forget
wow.
because it was just I think that's when it felt real to me and I realized like, okay, this is going to be a journey.
Yeah.
And then kind of right after the diagnosis, we had some other stuff happen where we knew the standard medical treatment wasn't the right option for us, both with my mom and my oldest son. So we just started digging into kind of
Mhm.
any alternative health, like natural healing that existed as soon as we got the formal diagnosis.
What were some of the things that you guys did, and what do you like, did you notice that any of the things made a difference? Like, what was your experience with that?
Yeah, one of the first things we did, we worked with a specialist and we did some lab work. We found out that she had an MTHFR issue
Mutation?
mutation, and that kind of opened up my eyes to what goes into her body. So, we're in Connecticut. We did have her go to preschool because we thought it would be good for her to be around other kids. They require vaccines in Connecticut, so even a flu shot. So that was eye-opening to us, just the process to get a medical exemption in Connecticut, which we ended up getting, but it was even rejected by the school, which was crazy. So we had to go through that process. But a big thing was changing diet pretty quickly. We went gluten-free, dairy-free. She didn't have a dairy allergy, but just working with a specialist, they felt it would best for her to be off of it.
Mhm.
That was the immediate thing, and then it was a lot of supplements, and I'll be honest, like, she's on way less supplements now. That's the one thing I'm not a fan of is the amount of supplements that some of the natural,
Mhm.
or alternative healing providers push on
Yeah.
because she is non-speaking, nonverbal, so we have no idea what all of those supplements do in combination to her. So, really early on, it was the diet and supplements. My wife had been talking to me about grounding. I thought the whole concept sounded crazy at first.
Mhm.
And then I read a book on it. I was pretty sold on it after reading the book and I ordered a grounding mat right away. And I remember it was delayed and I'm like, when's it coming? I want to see it work. And it was amazing because the first night we put it on her bed, she slept 6 hours straight. And I mean, I'm like, this is like insane how quickly it worked. It didn't help her fall asleep quicker or easier, but once she got asleep, we started getting 6 hours and it was consistent. It was every night. And I'm like, if I would have known about this like 6 months earlier, a year earlier, it would have changed a lot because
Yeah.
obviously if you're not sleeping, it impacts everything else.
Everything.
That was a big impact. I would say, we've done a lot, like from chelation to other things where it's been hard to pinpoint what the
Mhm.
benefit has been, but
Mhm.
grounding was one. CBD oil was another one. That was another one I had to kind of relearn my background. I'm like, I don't really like the idea of giving her, it's not the same as giving her a joint, but I'm like, this is it? I don't know. And so one of the issues was she would make us carry her everywhere.
Mm.
She could walk, but if we went for like a walk around the block or the grocery store, she would make us carry her. And another like amazing turnaround. The first day we gave her the spray, she just started walking everywhere on her own.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a big one. Removing screens, we ended up doing, and that, like, we saw a lot of her frustration drop significantly right
Yeah.
away. I thought it would be a lot harder than it was. We were coming back from a vacation, and during the vacation, we just tried to limit TV from her, and she did well. So I ran into the house when we got home where she would play with the TV, and I just took the TV out, and it's never been an issue since.
Wow.
One that probably is a little controversial, nicotine patches. So
Mhm.
we saw a huge benefit there. So we have bite marks all over our house,
Mhm.
banisters, tables, everything from her when she would get frustrated.
Mhm.
When we put the nicotine patches on her, she stopped biting completely. And she doesn't wear them anymore. So I know there's a lot of talk about it being addictive, where my thought is that it's all the other chemicals that they put in tobacco products that make them addictive. But she doesn't use them anymore. We actually use them for our other kids when they get sick. We'll put a nicotine patch on them and
Mhm.
they recover very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I've listened to some of the benefits about it, and it's really, really controversial, but it's so interesting at the benefits that you can
Yes.
actually get from using them.
Yes.
And, have you found that, using these types of kind of unconventional treatments, have you been getting, like, pushback from the medical community about it or, like, the community around you? I don't know if you know any other parents with an autism that have children who have an autism diagnosis or special needs. How has been kind of, like, the response about it around?
I would say up and down, definitely. I still remember when we first got our diagnosis, my wife called our pediatrician at the time, I should say, and said, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you about vaccines and just, could that have had any impact?" And the pediatrician basically was like, "If I'm not going to meet with you about it, and if you refuse vaccines, we're not going to see you anymore." So it was actually really good because we have no need for that pediatrician at all. So that was kind of the first like eye opening. Like to me, I like we delayed vaccines for our first, but then all of our other kids were fully vaccinated. Like I had some concerns about it, but I never understood like how forceful it could be if you had a question. We've seen it in other places, right? Like even family, when you're telling them that we give for CBD or nicotine, sometimes they might look at you like you're crazy.
Mhm.
I have friends that I'm like, "Hey, when your kid's sick, throw a nicotine patch on them," and they're like, just they can't get over the idea of nicotine, pure nicotine
Yeah.
being good for you. But luckily, there hasn't been too much. I did mention with the school when we got the medical exemption, they did reject it initially, and I was ready to get a lawyer just because we followed the process. And I remember explaining to the superintendent, like, you're making it about a vaccine, but what I'm telling you is we bring her filtered water to school. She eats gluten-free, dairy-free, non-processed food. We don't use cleaning chemicals at home. Like there's so many other things that we do to protect our body, and it's really sad that you're making it about one thing when it's really just us trying to protect her from harmful chemicals.
Yeah.
So that the whole school was really the hardest pushback we ever got, and she's homeschooled now, so we decided that it would be better for her to not go to school.
Right, especially because how can you trust this people at that facility if they're giving you such a pushback and they have such a different view of what's good for your child, right? So it's definitely hard
Yes,
to send her into somewhere where you're not going to really have control over what happens there. So I
yes,
totally get that. So a lot of parents in my audience kind of feel overwhelmed trying to navigate doctors and specialists and conflicting advice. What was your experience trying to find answers in the medical system, at least initially? And what would be like your advice to those parents?
yeah, and I would say it was even hard at home because my wife and I have different approaches. So she wants to do a lot and help our daughter, which is awesome. I like to see what works and kind of take a more phased approach. So even that was hard, like kind of finding balance on how much do we do at a time to see what shows benefits. I think it's really important that you trust the provider and they listen to you. Like we've had a lot of experiences where providers kind of have a standard treatment for all kids on the spectrum and knowing what works, what doesn't work. Like I told you, we did chelation and that traumatized our daughter. We told the specialist like, hey, like we don't think this is working, we should stop. And she was like, oh no, you need to push through it. And we saw no benefit from it. I know some people probably do see benefits, so that's awesome if they do. But I think just as a parent, really doing your own research and making sure you trust who you're talking to. And I do think it's important though to not rely on one person. Oh, one of the things I learned is like no one's coming to save you. Like they might help you, but there's not going to be a silver bullet, at least in my experience. And as the parent, you just need to always be researching and trying to figure out like what else can I do? And a lot of stuff we'll try on ourselves to say like, does this make sense? Is there any benefit from it? Like I started nicotine first before we ever gave it to the kids to see like one, is it addictive? And two, like what does it make me feel like? So I think a lot of it is doing your own research and then even finding ways to implement it into your life to see like, okay, is this something I'm comfortable giving to my kids or trying out with my kids?
Yeah, that is great advice. I mean, it's the same even with food, right? We should always kind of try to see, like, is this right? Like, is this okay? What does that taste like? Because oftentimes things are kind of marketed for kids, but it's really good to
Yes.
check. So, What were some of the hardest moments for you in that season when you guys needed to kind of readjust to this new, I don't want to say new normal because I don't really love that phrase, but like when everything started to happen, you got the diagnosis, like what were some of the hardest moments for you guys during that season?
Yeah, it was definitely still the lack of sleep because we were running on really no sleep and just praying every night that she would fall asleep and stay asleep for a few hours, trying to figure out what it means both short term and long term because you're worried about the long term piece, but then also you're just trying to survive each day, work, get through the meltdowns, make sure she has what she needs to feel comfortable. The stress of not knowing is there something wrong that she can't tell you about that like is hurting her? The financial aspects. I mean, parents who have kids on the spectrum, like unless I feel like unless you're a billionaire, like there's just not enough money to pay for treatment because really there's nothing that's covered by insurance. So I'd say a lot of stress on the financial side, trying to figure out how you can pay. And then I think social media has been great in some ways, but I also think it can be dangerous. And there's a lot of people that promote like miracle healing and this magic spray. And I think it's easy for some parents to get caught up in that and get their hope in like, oh, the zero light spray is going to reverse autism. And if there is a spray, I would love to know what it is. We have not found that yet, but I think it's just hard. Like as a parent, you're already emotionally high, and there's so many things out there that kind of play on the emotions, and I think that just makes it harder.
Yeah, it really does. And I think there is a lot of misinformation, but I also feel like in this AI world, like people are trying to make money online and sometimes they do promote the wrong things. So I think, being conscious about it and really listen to your intuition to see like, okay, do I really want to try this with my child? Try it first, see if this is really something that's going to move the needle. Have you guys, and this is just curiosity for me, but the ABA world is just so big. Um, in the autism world, it's just usually the typical thing that's being recommended. What are your feelings about that? Have you guys tried it? Have you been recommended that you start ABA? What have been your feelings about that?
Yeah, we knew right from the start that it wasn't going to be the right tool for us and our family, so we never even tried it.
Mhm.
With her being in preschool, a lot of the methods they had were built around ABA, and so that was really as a parent where one of the times we really had to be an advocate and push back, right? Like an example would be like playing with a doll the right way. Like our thought was, well, who defines what the right way is to play with a doll? Like our goal isn't for her to play with a doll the right way when she's 12, right? Like our goal is for her to be potty trained, to not have meltdowns. So we never pursued it.
Mhm.
We've had people bring it up. In the school system, it's all based on ABA here, at least in Connecticut. So it made it pretty hard to go to the meetings, to review progress and come up with shared goals. Always made it a little interesting because we weren't aligned. We eventually got them to align with us, but yeah, we knew from the start it wasn't going to be for us. I think my wife had looked at. I think early on she had heard from watched some videos of kids who had gone through it and that were now verbal, and I think even their feedback about it was not great. So yeah, just never was something we even considered.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I just feel like it's become such a gold standard. So I was wondering about your feelings about it. Sometimes there is a time and place for it, but I think that it's very rare, unfortunately, and I would love to see some of that funding that's being used towards ABA to be paying for something that is more like whole child oriented. Because I just feel like you said, it gets to be so expensive to do all these treatments, but so many different things are seem to be working, and maybe not for every child, but it's just such a shame that none of this is covered, and then
Yes.
parents need to choose like, what do I pay for? Like, what can I afford? And it could be so stressful on the parent knowing like maybe I could try this, but I can't afford it right now. So
Yes.
there's a lot to say there for sure.
Yes. Yeah, I remember looking, just trying to find the success rate of ABA, and you can't find it, which is crazy, right? Because, like you said, the amount of time and money that's been invested in the promotion of it, there's no success metrics of it at all. And I don't understand how you can continue to promote something that you have really no baseline for what success is or what percentage of children it benefits.
Right. That's a really good point. I wish to see those statistics as well, but My experience has been very similar as a therapist. I've never really been a fan of it. I think some therapists, they do a better job than others, but I feel like the idea behind it is just so robotic. And I've seen it produce these robotic results in kids. And I just feel like it's just so unnatural. It doesn't really take into account their emotions. And how can we withdraw or like withhold that emotional aspect of social development and just the need of a human? It's just to me, yeah, it's definitely not my favorite thing to do. But I understand why people choose to do it. But I just think there's so many better things we could be focusing on.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about your book. Why did you
Mhm.
decide to write Autism Sucks, Finding Hope in the Chaos? What is it about?
I had an idea to write a book for a while, especially after grounding, because I thought, okay, this helped me. Like, I wish somebody would have told me about grounding specifically in the, autism community early on, because it would have been a game changer for me. So initially I had this idea of I'm going to write a book and I'm just going to put what helped us without debate, right? We did it, had immediate impact. Like there's so many things that have helped us that had impacts just slower. And I can't point to like, okay, you know, putting her in a sauna because we do a sauna every night with her, like it did this and I can point to that immediately. But like I know the sauna has benefited her. So I was like, I'm going to write a book. I'll share, 5 or 6 things that really benefited us and showed immediate impact. As I was writing it, I used to I prayed every night, like with her after a bath, like, and I would always ask the question, why May? And I got an answer one night, and it was very brief, but it was, you would have killed yourself, or sorry, you would have died. And it scared me because I'm like, what does that mean? Didn't get any other context. And I felt like I couldn't finish the book until I had an answer there. So I would keep praying every night, every night. And then it was probably like a year later, I heard, I never said suicide. It was your health. And it was kind of eye opening to me because it wasn't like her autism was to save me, but it was more like, look, it happened, but there's good things that came out of it. And it kind of like peeled back my eyes and showed me that, wait, there have been good things that have come out of this. So,
Hmm.
my oldest son, prior to her being born, was diagnosed with ADHD. We went the standard medical route that way, put him on Adderall. He started talking about suicide. I'll never forget, we had a Zoom meeting with the pediatrician. She said, take him off and bring him back in. After I got off the Zoom call, I started researching Adderall, and I remember thinking like, I'm a failure as a dad. Why didn't I research this? Like suicide is pretty common for kids on Adderall.
Oh,
And
God.
so we knew obviously we weren't going to pursue any medical, like standard medical intervention there. But as a result of us changing the diet to support our daughter, like all his ADHD symptoms went away. So he's an honor student now and doesn't have any accommodations at school. So my book really transformed from, okay, here's what helped, but also sharing like what are the benefits that we've seen as well going through it, not discounting the part that sucks, right? Like there are so many things that are just like, planning to go somewhere, right? The amount of time that goes into it, just trying to find food to eat when we go out, making sure she's not going to have a meltdown because someone else brings food. There's just so many things that you have to worry about, but there's also good things that come out of it. And my hope was to kind of share that maybe with parents that are early in the diagnosis. And I also was hoping that parents of non-autistic kids, but maybe who have friends or family members that do have it, like just give them some more insight into what they're dealing with every day. Cause I don't think until you live it, it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
But that was really, it started as what are the 5 or 6 things that could help show immediate impact. And then it kind of transformed into, okay, it does suck as well, but there's good things that can come out of it if you look for them.
Wow. That is so powerful and kind of reinforces this idea of like everything happens for a reason, even if it's really
Yes.
hard, right?
Yes.
And I mean, luckily, and it's amazing to me how your son, how old was he when you started him on the diet?
He would have been around 10.
Wow. Yeah. So
Or sorry, 13. Sorry, 13.
wow. So you
Yes.
would think by then, like these things like ADHD tendencies and, the way that his brain was working would have kind of like wired in, but you were
Mhm.
able to undo that at that age, which to me is incredible. And it really speaks to the power of living with this more natural mindset and thinking about like what is really causing some of these things in my child. Like what can I do to make them heal? And the power of food, the power of grounding, the power of nature. I mean, it's a lot of these tools are so easily available to us, and once we're able to listen, like we can make a lot of powerful shifts in the health and the lives of our own lives and our children.
Yes.
It's incredible. Well, congratulations. I definitely want
Thank
to
you.
read this book. It sounds amazing. So, for parents who are dealing with a new diagnosis or kind of a recent diagnosis, what is a piece of advice you can offer them? I'm a huge believer that light is one of the most powerful medicines for our kids and for us. That's why I love Bon Charge. Their blue light blocking glasses, red light therapy devices, and many other products are designed to support your circadian rhythm and help your family sleep and feel better naturally. In our modern world of screens and artificial light, these small shifts make a big difference. Calmer evenings, deep sleep, better focus, and happier moods. I use Bond Charge products every single day, and even my son has his own pair of blue light blocking glasses for evening story time. You can check out all their products at bondcharge.com and use code LENAL to save 15% off your purchase.
Yeah, I would say I would recommend grounding to anybody now. I've just seen too many things that have, like, honestly, miracles that have come out of it. Even if you're not dealing with a diagnosis, I would get time outside barefoot and buy a grounding mat. I think it's the best $50 you ever spend on Amazon. But the other thing would be really make sure you trust the people you're working with and don't limit to one person. I know that sounds overwhelming because you'd love to work with just like one doctor or specialist, but really talk to a lot of people and try to figure out what you like about what they're offering, but you don't have to say yes to everything, and really make sure you're comfortable with what they're recommending and the path they're recommending. I would also say, like, don't jump into a bunch of supplements right away. Like we did that and I didn't see any benefit from it. We've done parts where we'll take her off a bunch and you see no decline. That part has probably been the most frustrating for me is again just the pushing of supplements. So just I mean, you're the parent, you know what's best. Really do your own research and question everything. Ask a lot of questions. What are the side effects? What should we expect to see from a benefit? When should we start to see benefits? Are there any red flags? Just ask a lot of questions to make sure you really get an understanding of what they're offering to your child and how it's going to help them.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Thank you. And feeding challenges and picky eating are pretty common when it comes to children on the spectrum. Like, did you guys experience that in your home? And what did meal times look like during this hardest season?
Yeah, we definitely did. What we would do is kinda double down on what she did like, that was something we would give her. So, we learned she likes cold and crunchy food. So, cucumbers, apples, like, what are the things she really likes to eat, and how do we give her more of those to not get her trying to eat other things? She still loves I mean, chicken nuggets, I know, kind of a joke sometimes in the autism community. She loved chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
So finding, the best alternative nuggets that we could find to give her. A lot of it was just looking and reading ingredients. She has a coconut allergy too, which makes it a little harder because a lot of the healthy alternatives have coconut in it. Um, and we actually just started with her the keto diet this actually Monday of this week. So
Hmm.
we're going down that route now. And I think a lot of it too with the picky eating, like I think we were a little fortunate that she still liked things that we wanted her to eat. So it made it easier. And again, we just kind of doubled down on the stuff she liked and gave her more of that. It was hard for a while, because when we started the gluten-free, dairy-free option or diet, there were still some foods we would buy and I mean, again, reading ingredients, you just have to read everything as a parent, right? Like, even brands we trust, like, they change. Like, we had a something we would give her that didn't have coconut in, and then we noticed her lips were breaking out, and we looked at the ingredients and coconut got added. So it's like even the brands you think you can trust, like, ingredients change. So
They do.
we would hide a lot of the food from her that we didn't want her to eat, and pretty much now we don't buy anything unless it's something she can eat as well. So we just try not to have the
Mhm.
foods in our house at all. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And how have your other kids reacted to these lifestyle changes you guys started to implement?
I mean, they I think at first took it pretty hard. We had always been like all organic, but once you start understanding like what can get an organic label, you realize that like that doesn't mean a lot in a lot of cases because you can call food organic and still not be something you should eat. They've done a good job adjusting over time though. So I mean, I found that like if one of them goes out somewhere and has something that we would never let in the house, like they'll give each other a hard time about it. So like they kind of have done a really good job of eating well. And we still like once a week we would get pizza for them still living in Connecticut. It's hard not to. So we would let them do that like once a week. So we do try to find ways to like mix in things that they would have liked to have before. But they've done pretty well so far. I mean, there's it's just like with school, it's awful, right? And sports teams, like
Yeah.
they play a soccer game, like, no one needs a donut after a soccer game, right?
No.
So, like and it makes it hard on them because like, they're the one not having it, and, like, the whole team's like, "Oh, don't you want a donut?" It's like,
Yeah.
"No, they don't want it." So,
Absolutely not. That's
yeah,
disgusting. I know it's hard. That's why, going to birthday parties and all these like school activities, I'm trying to be more open that, at home, if we do have majority of good things, like maybe they're going to be okay having like a cupcake with dyes. But I definitely, when I see it, I'm like on the inside, I'm like, I really don't want this to be the thing, and I wish more facilities and people were mindful about it, but it's surprising to see, like, how many people still buy these types of things, like, I guess unless you're really, really into the topic, it's still out there everywhere. Even in schools, my son goes to a nature preschool and, like, the snacks they offer, I'm like, it doesn't match. Like, why can't we have, like, natural snacks? He's in nature preschool, but, like it's like,
yes,
Cheez-Its and goldfish and this and that, so I always have to send, like, a substitute snack, but they're good about that, so you
that's
kind of
good.
find ways of making it work.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I wanna ask you, how did this experience change you as a father?
Yeah, I think I know it made me a way better dad. It taught me a lot of patience. I think that's the biggest thing. The patience piece, like, not expecting immediate results. Like you always want to, okay, I did this. Now what is the result? And just, I think I've learned to just enjoy life more, and stop taking things for granted, right? Like my other kids, like them learning to talk, like was no big deal. But when you look at like how hard it is for my daughter to communicate, I just have more of an appreciation and I think celebrating like everything now. So making a big deal about stuff has become more common for me. Before it'd be like, oh, no big deal. But it's like, oh, that's awesome. That's so exciting. Um, and I've seen it impact my kids too in a good way where I think, have become more caring and compassionate even for other kids and kind of look out for other kids. So I think it's had a really good impact overall on me and my kids.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. I'm so happy, you guys it kind of seems like it brought you guys closer as a family in a way, right? And, like, put you on this trajectory of more healthy living, so we always look for these
Yes.
positive things.
Yes.
Well, so the last question I like to ask everybody is when you zoom out and you look at the whole child, what do you think matters most that we often miss?
I honestly, I would start diet. I feel like we've gotten so far from just eating real foods and just the marketing that goes into, giving us feeding us lies. I think the other thing we miss is just all the changes that have happened in the environment, right? So our water's not clean. We've got Wi-Fi everywhere, fluorescent lights. We're not getting time outside, and I think we just miss like the impact that that's having on our kids. I just it's and it doesn't cause a breaking point for all kids, but I do think with my daughter, there wasn't outside like COVID hit, but I don't think COVID caused it. I think it was the combination of everything in the environment, vaccines, food, Wi-Fi, water, just all combining, and her body just couldn't handle it anymore. And I wonder how many other kids are impacted, maybe not that extreme, but just by what's going on in the environment.
Yeah. Well, definitely a ton. I don't know if you're familiar with documenting hope, but They're incredible when it comes to research on like chronic disease in children. And the last time I heard them speak, they were saying like about 80% of kids are now impacted. And it might not
Wow.
be autism every time, but it's just any type of chronic disease. It could be eczema, it could be asthma, it could be so many different things happening.
Mhm.
But the environment has become just unfortunately so toxic in so many ways, and our kids are definitely paying the price.
Yes.
So it's a big issue. So if anybody wanted to find you online and wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
Best way is on Instagram, Paul, and then it's V055, just spelling out my last name with numbers. And then my book is on Amazon, so that's the best place to get it. My book does have my contact info in there as well, but Instagram would be the best way.
Awesome. I'm going to make sure to include that in the show notes. But Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really loved our conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the Livin'Sky podcast. If this episode resonated, please leave a quick 5-star review or share it with another parent who'd love it too. It really helps more families find the support that they need. And don't forget to join my newsletter at linalivinsky.com for more tips and free guides. Sending a little sunshine to your kitchen today. See you next time.